to our Technical Tuesdays videos. I'm Mike Zarrelli, and I have Kim Scott, now Kim Basenback, with me today. Kim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
Doing well. We're filming on a Friday afternoon too, so we're ready to rock and roll for the weekend. Well, today we wanted to talk about managing finances for married couples, and Kim got married back in July. So we thought it would be great to interview Kim and talk about what she's doing with Jordan. So Kim, without further ado, let's start off with what's your story? Where'd you guys meet? When'd you get married? Things like that.
Sure. So Jordan and I met like a lot of couples these days online, and went on a few dates. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history. But I will say we met just a few months before the pandemic started. So by the time the world was shutting down, we at least knew we wanted to be in each other's like COVID bubble, as you know. And yeah, from there, like we really had a chance to get to know each other really well, since everything was closed and we could hang out with each other and our roommates. So it was a great time to get to know each other really well. And we got married in July of 2021. So at the point of recording this, almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, awesome. And it was a good wedding. I was there, so it was a fun time. Oh, actually, most of the office was there too. So Kim, now that you've had a few months under your belt being married, and you've kind of been able to have these discussions with Jordan, what's your method going to be for managing the finances? Is it going to be like a mine, yours, ours type of deal, or just totally separate? Yeah. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so it's funny now being on this side, because I can say I've had a lot of conversations with clients around how they're going to set up their finances as they get married and such. So I had an idea of what I wanted, but obviously there's two players in the game. So what we decided to do is we're going to do a his, hers, and ours. And the way we see it is everything is joint. But we are going to give each other, like we each get kind of some play money every month. So everything funnels into a joint account, and then we each get kind of some fun money, as we say. So that way it's money that we don't have to like kind of consult each other. This is, our money. If we want to spend it on something frivolous, we can. If we want to buy each other a gift, we can without the other person knowing. So it gives us some freedom in that regard, while also still mostly building things together, just giving us some kind of side money for each of us. And I will say too, after talking to a number of clients about this, it's different for every couple. Some couples put it into separate accounts, and then they each put a proportional amount into a joint account. Some people keep money totally separate, and that works really well for them. Sometimes when people are in a second marriage, it just is easier and cleaner to keep things separate, especially if there's kids involved on either side. So there's no cookie cutter, but this is what works really well for us.
Yeah, great point. I think, as it is with most finances, it's personal and it's up to your style, your preferences. I'd probably be the same way. I'm not married, so no telling what I will actually do, but I'd probably be a his, hers, ours type of deal. But I wanted to take a tangent on one thing you mentioned is we don't have to talk about certain expenses. What would be the threshold? Like, how much would someone have to be thinking about spending to need to consult the other before making that purchase?
Yeah, sure. And so for us, again, this is different for every couple. And I would say right now, as we're newly married and figuring out our finances and kind of rejiggering where money is coming from, we talk about it quite frequently, and we talk about most expenses at this point. But we've agreed that like kind of our threshold is somewhere in the $200 mark, where, if it's going to be over this, we really need to talk through it together. But again, right now it's all so new that we're kind of just running everything by each other, figuring out, what makes sense. And I forgot to mention, Mike, what you said brought it back for me. But on the his, hers, and ours, one of the most interesting conversations is figuring out what goes under the category of fund money and what goes under joint money. So I think that's something, no matter what route you go under, if you do the his, hers, and ours, it's good to understand, like, okay, if I get a facial, that is under my fund money. If we eat out together, that's under joint money. Some of those are pretty self-explanatory, but some people have very strong opinions about what should be separate and what should be like joint expenses. So that's a good thing to make sure you're on the same page before you get all that set up.
Yeah, great point. There's a lot of gray areas in terms of how to categorize expenses and such. And then to your point, there's still a lot of ironing that needs to be done in figuring out when do we need to talk about things, and also just building trust with each other. So the next question I have is, how often would you guys want to talk about finances? Like monthly, semi-annually? When do you want to start setting up a schedule?
Yeah, another good question. So for us, we haven't found, obviously, since it's only been 3 months in, we haven't found our perfect rhythm yet, but and obviously we're talking about it a lot more right now, but for us, at least once a year, from the bigger goal perspective of like, what's our plan for the year? What are we, how much are we saving to each place? Like for right now, our big goal is buying a house, probably within the next year, hopefully, depending on the housing market. But so a lot of it is, how much are we saving towards the house? How much are we putting in that account, so forth. And but then on the smaller scale, we've kind of talked about at least semi-annually to quarterly, just kind of checking in on kind of the smaller day-to-day things versus, like I said, the annual would be kind of the bigger picture stuff.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so I got another question. This one's a little more tricky. So let's say one of you brought debt into the marriage and it was debt attained before you got married. How would you handle that debt moving forward now that you're a joint couple?
Great question. I think it may depend on the type of debt. So, if it was like credit card debt or a car loan or something like that, depending on the interest rate, I imagine we would tackle that pretty aggressively together, wanting to get rid of that debt. In our case, Jordan had some student loans. He's a teacher, and so he had some student loans going into it. And for us, it's more of just being strategic, since he's on the loan forgiveness program, being strategic how that's paid off, but still working on it together. So I think it depends on the type of debt and how quickly it needs to, we need to get rid of it.
Yeah, fair. It's okay to give the "it depends" question or answer. And last question before we wrap up is actually going back to kind of the tuition student loans question. If and when you have kids and it's time for them to go to college, how much would you put towards paying for their college? Would you pay the whole thing, or do you want them to have some skin in the game?
This is a great question, and one that I guess, given what I do, we've already talked through this, of course, but we have slightly different opinions on this, where Jordan wants to, assuming we're in a place that we can, wants to fully fund their undergraduate degree. So wants to pay for everything in full, no debt for them, like no skin in the game for undergrad. But for me, having, I put myself through college and had a lot of skin in the game. And so I saw a lot of value in, students or, individuals going through college having some sort of skin in the game. So if in my preference, I would, like to pay for the bulk of it, but maybe finding a way for them to have some skin in the game. So I imagine when the time comes, we'll find some sort of compromise, whether, our kids are responsible for their books or for, their transportation if they have a car, or maybe something like that where they're having some sort of responsibility, but we're still, kind of helping them through that big expense. Because, I can say, especially, with Jordan having the student loans, it's a lot to, kind of need to be paying off those student loans. So if we're able to help our kids get through that without the loans on the back end, then that would be ideal. But I also know it's really important for us to make sure we're in a good financial position. So they are able to get student loans for college. And so if we need to be in that position, or if it'd be good for them to have skin in the game, I'm open to that. So I think we'll probably continue to have conversations about that. But yeah, I think probably some sort of a combination would be a good middle ground for us.
Yeah, great, fair. That works. Well, before we wrap up, any other just little nuggets or advice that you'd want to give to, newlywed couples managing their finances?
Sure. Yeah, I would continue to say, as I said earlier, there's no cookie cutter answer. So it really depends on what works for the couple, and what works for how you guys want to set up your finances, where money flows. And sometimes it's helpful to have one person kind of manage the day-to-day finances, and maybe another oversees kind of the bigger picture. It depends on what works for you guys. But all that to say, we have this conversation quite frequently with clients, and a lot of us have been through it ourselves, or have significant others that we have to have these conversations with. And so I would say we're here to help navigate through having those conversations and help figuring out what works well for you.
Yeah, great. Just want to echo, you can reach us out to us at 301-949-7300 or at questions@FSA Invest. And we'll see you next time for our Technical Tuesdays. Thanks.